Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of VC Connect, the podcast show that gets in depth and unlock inner thoughts of renowned VCs across ASEAN and APAC region. I'm Art Tan, your host for today, and I would like to thank each and every one of you for coming back again to listen, grow, and learn with our guests. Now, whether you are in the Web3 space or founder or not, it really doesn't matter, as I know each and every one of you here is to learn new ideas, principles, insights, perspective to transform the way how you think and apply this to raise money successfully for your project. Now, if you yet to follow our Twitter accounts and rest of our social media credentials on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, do click on the button right now, which is as simple as that, follow. Now, my dear friends, more founders than ever are building great projects in this Web3 space, disrupting the space with out-of-the-world ideas and raising tons of money. And on this show, I sit down together with these incredibly smart VCs across these regions to pluck the brain juice, to discuss the ideas, strategies, and opportunities that they're taking advantage and practicing of, so the rest of you were able to follow the same as well. Now, in today's guest, who is joining me is none other than someone that I've had the privilege to meet at a very recent event in Bali. And honestly, at first glance, he looks nothing close like a VC at all. But as when you speak to him more, you start realizing there's so much in-depth substance and intelligence in this person. And honestly, guys, please don't be fooled with his charisma and also goofiness at the same time. Today, he's currently the investment manager at Kreation Ventures that are primarily investing in early-stage investments into serial entrepreneurs and projects that are making up huge impacts in the blockchain, gaming, logistics, mobility, healthcare, and ESG. Adding feather to cap, he operates two other companies on the side as a CEO at FTX, food waste turning into clay materials for construction, and also being the directors of partnerships as I Find X Consulting, an innovation consulting boutique firm. So once again, thanks for coming on the show, Chung.
Thank you so much for having me, and I think you really put me on the pedestal. But yes, thanks for all the compliments, and really happy to be here as well.
Well, it's really good as connecting with you. I mean, honestly, whatever I say is I really mean well. I mean, I think I said that to you when I was in Bali when I first saw you. Dang, you just looked like a kiddo to me. But when I had this conversation with you, it was just such a profound conversation, and I could still remember that. I remember you said that you were telling me that, you were sleeping throughout the whole daytime and you only came at the right time. And maybe it got really me thinking, maybe he's smart and I'm not doing the right thing because you had so much energy for the rest of the evening.
No. I think it's really just Web3 in general having a lot of energy, just like bouncing off energy with that of the crowd as well. So yeah, it's actually energy from the community, yeah.
Awesome, amazing, yeah. So anyway, I really want to dive in. I think today you have something really very, very amazing and something very wonderful to really share based on experience and insights. And of course, I think when I first reached out to you, you said yes in a heartbeat. But I can imagine it has been a whirlwind week for the last 1 week in this crypto space. And really share with us what much of difference your life has been the last 1 week as incomparable to the last couple of months, and also in the last 1 year as well. How different your life has been?
Great. I mean, first of all, great question, right? I mean, I think everyone's frantically right now. I mean, even whether or not you are a retail investor or whether you are just participating in the space, right? You're definitely really frantically. Panicking right now and really trying to withdraw stuff or change stuff, whether or not are you swapping tokens, and basically putting yourself in a very safe position right now because no one knows where the market is heading towards, right? So I think that's definitely a first for everyone, be it portfolio, the founders themselves and things like that, under us and things like that. And I feel like that is very important. So of course, in any volatile market, it's very, very important for you to keep safe for yourself, right? Know where to put the assets in the safest possible position for yourself to keep your mind at ease and actually do the market watching and things like that. But if you're talking about me personally, I think a lot of what we are looking at is really just asking and also showing concern to our portfolio on like identifying all the primary effects, identify any of the secondary effects as well, and also understanding like what everyone is doing, hearing from everyone, being in spaces like that. Anyway, thanks for everyone for turning up and hearing this talk as well. I think that's what all of us are doing, right? Poking our ears into every single community to understand what are the social signals, what are the things that we can pick up, and just to give us the additional edge, right, to do better in our community itself.
So that has a lot to do with the market. I mean, market risk is certainly very inevitable. Now let's just dive in a little bit more about what about your work scope, because when I first spoken to you about this, you say that you have been immensely crazy with the amount of workload ever since this saga that took place. Probably maybe I want to have the lens of a VC when such catastrophe takes place. How much weight does it has towards a VC in the differentiations of workload?
I think in any case it's the same, right? So we're drawing parallels, right? So think of it as now we are like instead of just looking after your own money, you're looking after like your baby's money and things like that. So think of us as a parent, right? As a VC itself, what we are really worried about is every single our portfolio, right? They might have kind of like complex treasury management, or in any case whatever, sometimes even they have to invest in other people themselves, so they have even like secondary, tertiary exposure even to any of this kind of catastrophe. So I think the very number one thing that everyone's panicking about is to make sure that number one, whatever that you need to be out of risk is out of risk. So of course, we're asking everyone what your safety management, what are you doing on the kind of like the risk management end? How are you managing this? And at the same time, making sure that any strategies that you put forth at least keep you alive in the next 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, and so forth. I think what is really important is to make sure that everyone kind of have a strategy moving forward. There's a game plan. There's also a kind of like prudency in a lot of like spending and every other thing, because markets are volatile, right? So I think a lot of it's got to have the hardest conversations with your portfolio, making sure that everything is covered for. That's one, and at the same time there is enough sufficient plan on what can be done further. So yeah, and I can see that that's kind of like good work done by all of our portfolio. To be very honest, kudos to them. I know many that couldn't be able to kind of do it fast enough and things like that. So that the fact that people are acting fast on it and whatnot give us a lot of confidence as well as investors.
Now I really think that you really said something that's very amazingly powerful. The fact that where you have so many considerations to really put into right now. And honestly, I mean, we are talking about one of the major catastrophes that have ever taken place coming from an exchange, and we are saying that it's the closest rivals to Binance. Now, we just really want to be in coherence with today's topic, the FTX Fiasco, and where are we now and what's beyond here. Now, I guess I want to ask you this question, and it's something that I really want to understand. I want to know in depth in you. If you really have this opportunity to confront and say something upfront to Sam Bankman's face right now, what exactly would you be telling him straight on his face directly?
I mean, first of all, if I ever get to meet him, it'll be my privilege, right? I mean, I think it's a good honor to even meet him. I personally feel like, whatever the outcome might be and whatnot, might be there is definitely a big respect on whatever he's doing. I personally kind of like respect what he have done in some certain aspects, like being able to even raise the company to a multi-billion-dollar company in a matter of like months and years, like a very, very short amount of time is something that's very remarkable. But at the same time, I mean, if it comes back down to this fiasco, I think there were many things that he had to react very fast on, and I feel like I wouldn't say that he have done a good job or not, but I would say that I think he have, at every point in time, he have done what is necessary. And I feel like if there's my only if there's a chance for me to meet him up front, I think the first thing I'll do is pat him on the shoulder, I guess, and just say like, hey, you have been through a lot, yeah. And I think that's one of the only thing I can ever say to him, right? And I don't think there's a lot I can actually say. I mean, I don't represent any of my retail investors or any other people, and it's something that I cannot say anything on behalf of anyone else. But I feel like ultimately FTX, I mean, don't get me wrong, there are a lot of good products that he have under his vision have actually came to fruition. You know, I'm pretty sure anyone here who have used FTX before have seen, you know, slickness in his products and many other, you know, useful actual utility, right, and in a lot of like plugins and things like that, which I thought was really good. And I think all these come under a very brilliant leadership. So that is definitely something commendable. But on the back end, on what can be done and whatnot, I guess when you're being put in such situations and things like that, and you look back at, you know, several decisions that you come up to it, there's a lot of things that you probably need to reconcile personally as a founder as well. So I guess founder decisions is not something that, you know, we, even an investor standpoint, even a friend perspective or whatnot, can actually say too much on. So I guess I would just be like, pat him on the shoulder and like, yeah, you've been through a lot.
Wow, I think that's really very nice of you. I mean, the fact that is that when I spoke to a lot of people, actually a lot of people just want to give him a punch then, especially the ones that really hold FTT tokens. But of course, I mean, whatever that you said, I think you're right. I think the fact that whereas he has built the FTX platform to be where it is today, it's just of course some of the unprecedented mistakes that were done along the way has certainly became something very unforgivable to a lot of people out there, essentially, especially with investors, retail investors who have really believed so much of his vision. Now let's just change the gears a little bit right now. Now, following the FTX Fiasco, Tron founder Justin Sun, it's ready to give us billions in aid to really help and support FTX. Nothing is set in stone yet, from what I understand. And according to one of the Bloomberg tweets, Justin is also ready to provide FTX with billions in aid. The need to do, and he tweeted somewhere along this line, that the need to do due diligence and a good moment to show unity in crypto industry. Now, I guess if you are really in Justin Sun's position, what would you have done differently? Or would you have done the same as Justin?
Again, another remarkable figure in the industry, right? And
absolutely,
Tron have definitely done good work as well. And I think whatever he has done, whatever he has said, and of course, like, you know, he have claimed, right? Is definitely gonna be a very good kind of like contribution towards the space. So I think definitely what he has said is definitely something that probably gives a lot of confidence back to, like, you know, in the products like that. I mean, ultimately people link FTX to like one of the largest CEX, right? And that is something that people are kind of like you know, having a bit of doubts on it right now. And I think that one of the main things that when he said he pledged all this amount to, I guess it's really about, you know, restoring faith into CEX. I mean, of course, as much as CEX have a lot of cons, I think CEX you need to look at the pros as well, and I think that's where he's coming from, right? So Tron itself, and everyone in that space who really supports you know, what they are doing, especially FTX in these times of you know, like conflict and whatnot, and this entire, like, I would say, like a catastrophe, right? Like what you said just now. It's a lot about showing solidarity, like what you said, and at the same time, it's also to kind of really like bring people's attention back to, like, you know, is it really just is it really a management issue? Is it really you know, even if, let's say, for example, is it really a money issue? You know, if you are able to like pour in money again, is there gonna be, you know, revival of such a good product and things like that? So I think it's good to let people think about such things. Whether or not things come into fruition, no one has any clue, right, on what can be done, what will happen in the future or not. But personally, if you're asking me, I would say that, like, I think it's also good time now. I won't say that I'm in the position of Tron to say anything, but of course, as a bystander, as also someone who's in the industry itself, I think it's good to let everyone rethink, you know, a lot of their strategies. What is the market looking for now? You know, is it used to be hype? Is it used to be like usability where everyone can be on the same platform. And now what has it transformed into? Is it transparency? Is it accountability? Is it risk management? And at the same time, where are we taking all these mindsets from? Are we taking from Web2 finance, or are we really coming in from the user point of view and things like that? And such mindsets where it drives us and put us into the next direction of what I think might be the next few wave in the industry itself is very, very important. So all these are very important thoughts that you are like stirring within the industry, and I think this is good because everyone gets to think for themselves. Now what do you think is best for yourself, right? In times of problem, that's where the fight or flight mentality comes in. So now it's either a fight or flight, like really just taking out all your money and throwing back in Web2 or cold wallets, or what then can be the next few solutions for us to also ensure liquidity yet at the same time transparency. So I think there's a lot to think about, there's a lot to deconstruct. So I think sometimes saying such things can really stir sentiments within the industry, and all these are very important. Yeah.
But ultimately, projects are always projects, and it's always being founded for a good intention. But somehow along the way, human intention is always sway away very differently, and has somehow navigated the project to be a failed project, either due to greed or either due to a management issue, problematic. And of course, along the way, I think when we saw the FTX, we saw a lot of red flags over there. And did that at any point of time, had that ever come across to you as okay, there is some things really alarming issues with FTX? And if you're given that position, would you be more vocal about it, and to actually give a cautious to people that, hey, just be wary with FTX?
Wow, that's a very huge question to unpack, right? I think I'll give a very simple answer for that, which is that I wouldn't say I don't think I'm in any position to talk about like the red flags of FTX, right? I'm not there since day one, and neither am I there through any of the investments round that I can say like, oh, I actually look at the deal and then these are the red flags and these are my conversation with SBF and things like that, because I've never done any of this. So what I can definitely say is that as what are red flags to investors themselves, which is basically not being accountable to your investor, and a lot of other things like not keeping your investors in loop of any other updates that might happen and things like that. I think every time when you make a large decisions, be it whether or not is it to deal with anything in terms of your funds, in the treasury, in terms of like even business strategy, like large moves, like I'm going to pivot the product, I'm going to include this and that, I want to target a new market, I'm going to open whatever geographical market for myself. I think all these are important factors that you need to kind of also keep your investors in the loop, because ultimately we all like to say that making an investment, especially from a VC point of view, is always a marriage, right? You are almost in the same household, living together, almost in the same, I will even analogize it to like in the same bed, where it's very intimate. It's a very intimate relationship. It's not just us handing you money, it's definitely a handshake, it's a partnership being made. So I think a lot of it got to do with like updating, and sharing that kind of like decisions, even though sometimes we do not need to be on the board and like make decisions all together with you. I think updating us and hearing our advice on certain of the decision and how you should make them should also come into play. And I think that's a very important part of VC investment. So red flag wise, I'm sorry I took a long way to answer your question. Red flags wise, definitely not updating your investors, definitely a big red flag. But other than that, I'm not saying that SBF did this, and neither do I know anything that happened in FTX. So I'm in no position to comment on this, but red flags, from investor, definitely is.
Absolutely. I think I really love the fact that where you say that here at the end of the day, investment of business is it's really intimate relationship, is like that both parties or even partners are really going in to really build something that's so strong and sustainable. And with that, of course, that really goes a long way. Now we're still really talking about the entire FTX, but let's just move towards we slightly shift gears a bit more. Let's talk about the post FTX then. That would you think then if this is the case, this crisis spill over, how could you think this crisis spill over lead over to the rest of the crypto from now on? And what will you think that some of the major changes in this space as well will shape crypto, even blockchain-based projects, or even for founders and entrepreneurs from now on?
Wow, that's a hot potato you just passed me, right? Like, I mean,
Yeah, you are the VC, right?
no, science, like, definitely not in any position to give any sort of financial advisory. So yes, everyone listen with a huge teaspoon of salt, right? And at the same time, I feel like what is important here is that if you look at the entire landscape, right? What are the spillover effects? What are things here and there that might happen? I think all these are signals that you should pick up on your own. Do your own research, very important. I think this entire fiasco also gave us an important lesson about where should you get your market sources from, and at the same time, who should you listen to. At the same time, kind of understand the domino effects that things might happen. And I think this. I mean, of course, we have many other lessons before that taught us. The incidents of Terra, the incidents of like Celsius, and the incidents of many other things before this. And all these should always be very good lessons that are meaningful to us, right? We need to think for ourselves what went wrong, and at the same time, how do we prevent ourselves from being involved in such incidents again? And I think that's something that we all should keep in mind, and it's up to us to understand, and also to up to us to kind of investigate what really went wrong, and then of course from there really carve out your own lessons, and after that and stay disciplined to those lessons as well, because the same mistakes always happen. It's always the same kind of domino effect, I guess. Don't quote me on this, of course. It might not be sometimes, but the cause and effects are always usually a similar pattern, right? And when Web3 is it's always a growing space, so kind of like learn what are the underlyings, and then from there on, that's where you can identify what's good for yourself and what's not. So I think keep all this in mind is very, very important. I would say that post FTX, that's where everyone needs to be a bit more cautious. Everyone needs to understand for themselves what is the next best step, to be very honest, and no longer just following the market. That's one of the first and biggest lesson.
I think that's definitely a very diplomatic and yet a very safe answer, to put it in that way. But it's certainly, to me, it's extremely sound advice. Then I guess that really leads on to now as a VC, and of course as a managing that entire investment portfolio. How is this shape and influence your investment sentiment and narrative in projects, and also founding teams and builders? What are some of the key indicators that you are primarily looking at when you really, before you really dive into making that we are going to really make that, like, this is it, we are going to invest in this. I really want to understand that part. Has it changed or influenced any of the investment sentiment and narrative?
That's a good question. Of course, I would say a big no first of all. I don't think much have changed. I don't see why it should change in any case. I mean, founders are still humans, right? Humans will make mistakes in any case, and a lot of times, you learn from those mistakes, and at the same time, I guess as from an investor, a lot of ultimately what you invest in is a lot about what you believe in as well. So if you believe in it and it's something that you hold on to, even if one or two anomalies, right, that might happen within your entire hypothesis and things like that, shouldn't be things that sway you on this. So in any case, I don't think a lot of your VCs or even funds will in any case change their mandates or change what their strategy or looking, what kind of sentiments in founders and whatnot that they are looking for now. In fact, I feel like the same thing will happen again. In any case, like big events like this, it will never change your fundamentals. Like, for example, for us, we are founders first, and we always believe in founders, and finding the right founder fit with the market, it's also a very important thing. And as long as your founder fit the market, a lot of times, I wouldn't say it's the secret to success. No one really knows the secret, but it's more of like, if there's a fit on that end, and you do your own gut feel and whatnot, and based on your own how many years of experience, that's where it gives you that baseline understanding that this probably might be the best decision to make, and that's where you make the investment. So ultimately, that's what I feel. Not much changes will be made, and I feel like from now on, I think everyone will take the hit, right, on this incident. But that is something that everyone will also remember. I don't know whether they will bruise, but at the same time, this hit it will be definitely a memorable hit. Yeah, it's something that everyone will remember. It's definitely gonna go make history for us and things like that. So yeah, more things to learn and put into your database of your knowledge base. So yeah, it's just a very good learning point for us.
I couldn't agree more. I think this is going to be a big hit where everybody is going to start reflecting. Of course, I think to a lot of people, the point of view is going to change towards this space. But I believe the ones that I think it has also give us a good reminder that for us to really build a project with great intention. And I really like the ideas, like how you say that to really find the right founder and this founder fit is in that particular project. I think at the end of the day, why investors are giving us money, as founders or project builders, is always based on the three things: to just like you, to trust you, and to see your owner benefit assisted by you, just to really able to deliver the entire work with utmost good faith, and able to deliver the ROIs to investors. But I think truly the right intention, the right character, the right purpose of running that project is extremely immensely important. Now, one of the greatest things that I really love is about reading your LinkedIn profile, and it was so intriguing. I really just glued my eyes on it when I saw that. And basically, you wrote something so beautiful, so profound, that how you live a life with the 5 Ds. And these 5 Ds are deals, data, disrupt, democratize, and due diligence. Well, I guess I want to break down into 2 questions over here. First, are these the only principles of life? Are you really that all serious and there's no fun? And secondly, I want to elaborate more on what exactly was the turning points of life that have really made you molded and formed these principles of life and business.
Okay, so I would say that, of course, at the start, all these was a very playful alliteration, right? I mean, trying to flex a bit of my literature side of things and whatnot, but at the same time, I feel like all these are definitely good principles to live by. I think all these are things that I believe in as well, and I think I've really set this 5 Ds as something that I kind of want to use this as a framework to live my life. That's something that I really want to kind of have to kind of put as guiding principles, right? Because you don't want to kind of lose your direction in life. So I think these are definitely things that I'll set in stone first, and I think these are things that it should be things that shouldn't change in your life. And I think I mean that's why ever since I set up the LinkedIn account, I've never changed them, and I just always leave it on. But at the same time, it's always something that I will always go back on and reflect and I revisit and think about whether or not it's still suitable for me to actually think about such things in life as well. So ultimately, these are definitely values and at the same time focus points that I'll always focus my life on, and I think that's something that will make me who I am. So that's why I have this 5 Ds on.
And since when is this 5 Ds were crafted in your life? And how has this changed you as a person? The way you think, the way you make a decision?
I wouldn't say that it changed my life in any case, but I would say that these are definitely just guiding points that I have, and I think that these are things that definitely what I will definitely kind of hold on to. And I kind of thought of them since very young, right? And I think that's something that I kind of concluded, you want to really just sum up your life and kind of have them as descriptors so that people can recognize you for these 5 Ds as well. So I guess these are things that I'll just stick to for now. How does it really change me in the way I think? I don't think it's that much of a difference. It's just about what kind of framework do you want to use on this? For example, when I talk about due diligence, I think it's very important. A lot of times, you meet everyone and things like that, but you need to verify information, and I think that that's a very important skill and also an aspect to keep for yourself, because a lot of times people just go by trust based and whatnot, but for me having the extra little caution and thinking about being safe and reviewing things first is still very important for me. So I think these kind of give you a guiding framework in life.
That's amazing. I mean, the fact that you have already made it so simple that the 5 Ds I think that's really powerful enough. And one way or another, you will just constantly just remind yourself okay, right, it's all about deals. And I think that really put you, at the end of the day, is becoming a prominent and a competent as a venture capitalist. At the end of the day, it's really just sourcing out deals for your limited partner and just giving the best ROIs to it. And I guess it really ingrained you that constantly just to become that greatest deal maker, or to really deliver the work as best as you can. And of course, I think I just love the last 5D, which is due diligence. I think at the end of the day, it's always about DYOR. It's always about due diligence. Really go in depth with understanding what is intention, what is the purpose, what is the characters of this person. Because especially when it comes to early stage companies, I mean, in one way or another, we're just going to invest in the people, and it's really people is what really carries us the highest weight. Now, I'm going to ask you the last 5 rapid questions, but these are really rapid questions, and you can possibly just answer in the shortest answers as possible, or even to be more concise and precise, just answers with one word. Now, what is the greatest investment lesson that you have learned through your entire career?
Hi. I don't think I have that long a career yet. In fact, I'm also still very new in this role. But I think one of the largest investment lessons is to really, I think you really need to understand someone very deeply before you make even any kind of investments or any kind of partnerships as well. So really about making that real connection with someone is very, very important. Ultimately, before you even say yes to a business deal, or say yes to investment, or even say yes to receiving investment, always get to know someone very, very well.
Wow, truly agreeable, truly amazing. I love that answer of yours. What was the best investment advice that you have ever heard?
Best investment advice I ever heard is to, I think a lot of it got to do with checking. I think that's a lot of part of what we do as an investor. We really do a lot of research. We check whatever they say is true. You check that whatever that the market says is actually what everyone else thinks as well, and that's really like the macro trend. So a lot of checking.
And what is the worst investment advice that if you have ever heard?
The worst investment advice, do first thing later. Yeah, I think that's one of the I would say the kind of advice that can really bring you down troublesome rabbit holes that you don't want to get into.
Wow, that's powerful. And what is the biggest common mistake that investors are always practicing?
Wow, I can't say for all investors, but at the same time, I feel like I can't say for anyone, and this definitely doesn't represent what anyone is doing and whatnot. But I think one of the poor investment advisory, or rather poor investment practice that I've seen, is to inflate valuation with zero justifications.
Yeah, that's strong. That's really cool. And last but not least, I guess this is really a true reflection of yourself. What is your greatest and true intention of becoming a VC today?
Oh, that's also one of the hardest. I mean, after all, we allocate capital to people so that we can help them grow, right? Like a lot of times, what we hope that this entire allocation of capital is the final missing instrumental piece. So it's in Chinese we have a saying called 万事俱备只欠东风, and we hope that this capital that we provide is always that last piece, that last piece that you need in the entire inventory of battle set that you need to go to war to. And I think that is something that we always want to have as a best case scenario. And a lot of what my job does is to also identify what else they might be missing other than money in the inventory space, and also provide that as a value add. And that's what gives the most satisfaction as a VC. And that's why I guess it's something that I chose and I choose to stay with.
Wow. Thank you so much once again, Chung, for really being here and also jumping on the second episode of VC Connect. I think whatever that you have shared, your insights and experiences are incredibly powerful. I think the fact that whereas you have incredible amount of time as really just becoming in a VC that you are today and just looking for deals, certainly I think you are helping a lot of listeners out there, or even investors out there, or even myself that I have some really major takeaways and learning a thing or two today. So once again, I thank you for your time. I know you've been extremely busy, and once again, to all listeners, thank you so much for joining the VC Connect, which is being held fortnightly. And I would like to say thank you so much to all the listeners here. That being said, thank you very much, and have a wonderful evening ahead.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for having me as well. Thanks, Arthur. Thanks, Metapac Group.
Thanks so much. Thanks. Travel safe. Good night.